All right, we're back. I'm here with Ryan. Ryan Carr, what's up, man?
Hey, how's it going, Matt?
Going good. I think today we're going to talk about five, maybe six different newsletter focused business ideas. Or I would say not all mine are kind of newsletter focused, but media newsletter related business ideas that people could spin up in a weekend and hopefully build into something really cool over time.
Love it. I I may have misunderstood the prompt because I brought a couple newsletter ideas, but I think that'll be good. We'll intersperse them as
Oh,
well.
that's perfect.
So
Yeah, it's nice to have some
yeah,
diversity because we did like a couple episodes on newsletter business ideas, and I have some of those, but I just like not everything has to be a newsletter first, and so
yeah,
some of these will be a little bit different. Yeah, so we'll talk about that. Then
sweet.
we have like two other topics we'll dive into. But is it cool if I go and share one first?
You go ahead.
Yeah, when it comes to ideas, it's always a little scary because it's like, ideas could be nothing or they could be really helpful to people. And I hope these will be helpful. It's just all based off of like my personal experiences and what I'm interested in. So the first one I'm calling Dyslexic Advantage, which is also the title of a book. So you might need a different name for this idea. But basically, some type of media company newsletter around dyslexia. I don't even know if that's the right word to describe it, but for people who are dyslexic, whether it's adults or adults who are raising dyslexic children, I think there's room for a big media company or creator business around this topic. I imagine you know what dyslexia is, right?
Yeah, yeah, but maybe
Yeah.
for people who don't. Yeah.
Well, honestly, I'm bad at describing it. I'm dyslexic, and I think 20% of the world's population is. So it's massive, huge, hyperscale market for this. Makes it harder to read and process words and numbers. So typically, children are going to have more struggle, reading, more struggle in traditional school, but not necessarily. It's. I think some people label it as a learning disability, but I wouldn't call it that. It's just a learning difference, maybe like how ADHD or entrepreneurs are more likely to be dyslexic. There's a bunch of famous dyslexic entrepreneurs like what is it, Richard Branson, many more. I'm not an expert on it. I've read like one book about it. It's something I deal with, but it's not something I'm, like an academic scholar on either. But it's a problem that millions of people deal with, and there's not really much media or content about how to, live a better life with it, be more productive, or help kids who have those challenges. And actually, I think that's where the real money is. It's like adults who either have dyslexic kids or they're dyslexic adults that have dyslexic kids, which is very common because it's somewhat genetic. And because people will just spend way more money when it comes to improving their kids' lives and education versus if you're a dyslexic adult, like you're not really going to do much to change things or spend money to improve your life, but you would spend a lot more money on your kids. So that's kind of where I'm going with this. So like I think about this really tactically. There's all types of different cool things you could do around this topic, but I kind of think about, how do you build the audience at the top of funnel? And then how do you convert that audience into an owned, retained audience that you can then monetize? And so at that top of funnel for this, it really has to be a video thing. I know we talk a lot about a lot of text focused content like LinkedIn and newsletters and stuff, but this is for a dyslexic audience. You're not going to be writing tons of blog posts and newsletter deep dives. That's not really what they want. So I think if you do like a weekly YouTube video around different topics, you do maybe 5 shorts per week that are posted across YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. And I'm not going to go into what these topics could be because they're not interesting for everybody, but like, how to help kids with this issue, how like tools you can use as a dyslexic adult to be more productive. So, for example, I use a lot of speech to text. It's like the best speech to text tools to use, the best tools for proofreading, editing, stuff like that. The emails or content you're writing at your job. There's literally endless amounts of topics like what it is, what are the learning differences or advantages you have as someone with this, things like that. There's a lot of people who have written about like adult ADHD. Have you heard about that or any creators in that space?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like ADHD Jesse, and there's a ton of other big ones, and that's become like a huge topic. I think that even though it's been around for a while, obviously, that topic as far as people engaging with content around ADHD has exploded in the past like 5 years, really since COVID. And I'm surprised that people with dyslexia, and I don't even know if it's called dyslexia because I spend very little time thinking about this, but I'm surprised it doesn't have as much steam because it's almost as common as ADHD. 20% of all people, like massive market. And so that's like our top of funnel: YouTube videos, short form videos. And then what I think would work to monetize this are number one, education and courses. Number two, partnerships. I think, people wouldn't, most adults wouldn't pay for a course on how to become more productive, with this challenge. But if it's a course about how to improve your life as an adult and how to help your children, I think people would pay a lot for that. Because again, people are just, they're willing to spend a lot of money on their kids. And so I would have a course. It's like 20% how to be a more productive adult at work, and 80% how to help your kids and set your kids up for success. And the way I would sell it is like in these YouTube videos or short form videos, I would pitch like a 5-day email course that's like how to understand your dyslexic advantage. And it teaches like 5 concepts or one concept over 5 emails over a 5-day period. It would be like each email would be like 400 to 1,000 words max. Keep it short, keep it super actionable. And so we add a lot of value. Then on the 5th email, we introduce the course. And then after the 5th email, we have 5 to 10 follow up emails that then sell the course. And you might have like a special offer that's automated where they get a discount that ends after a deadline. So, 5 educational emails, 5th email introduces the course, 10 emails to sell it. After the 10th email, the discount expires. Maybe it's 20% off, 30% off, whatever it might be. Maybe there's some bonuses that expire too. And you're basically selling this in a completely automated way. You're basically sending no weekly broadcast newsletters. You're all focused on that video content that you're publishing on a weekly basis. And I would really position this again on like helping people who are like high performers who are dyslexic, because those people want the productivity hacks, who also have kids that want to, and when they want their kids to be high performers too, in school or in life, whatever it might be. Another thing you could do, especially for these lower price courses, like this course is probably going to be somewhere between $100 and $1,000, maybe even 100 to 500. If you have the time, you could offer a coaching call too. So it's like buy the course for $200 or buy the course and a 45-minute coaching call with me, the founder, for $1,000. And so it's an easy way to increase your average order value if you have the time to do these consulting calls, which if you're starting a brand new business, you should have the time to speak to your customers on a weekly basis. And then what I would also do is like after someone signs up for this free 5-day email course, I'd have a landing page, and immediately afterwards I would have a post sign up survey where we're collecting first party data. And a lot of high performers are dyslexic, and so we can identify things like job title, family household income, location, stuff like that, first party data. After they complete the survey, then they are prompted to go open the email to get the first part of that course. And so with this audience we built up on like YouTube, Instagram, etc., and the email audience that we have first party data on, we can start to sell a lot more interesting sponsorship packages. So if you just had like a YouTube audience or a newsletter audience, you could either sell YouTube pre-rolls or newsletter ads. But now we could start to package things. So we could put together partnership campaigns where we have YouTube pre-rolls, we have ads in broadcast newsletters, maybe we have dedicated short videos for a sponsor. We have a dedicated email send based off of our first party data. So like if the sponsor is like a productivity tool who wants to target people in the US who work in this industry, we have that data on our subscribers already, and we can send a dedicated email blast to maybe 20% of our subscribers who actually fit that criteria. And we can charge way more for that versus just a newsletter ad, for example. And we can package that as part of a longer, bigger marketing campaign with this advertiser versus just one-off YouTube or newsletter ads. And then I think later on, like the long-term thing would be like to write the book for, high performing dyslexic adults, like have like the go-to book in that space. Because there's really nothing out there that I know of. There's a book called The Dyslexic Advantage, which is more like academic, written by a bunch of professors. It's a very dense read that I never finished. But if you had like the handbook for adults that want to live a better life with this, I think it would be potentially a big book, or like a book that it could be published by a big publisher or be a national bestseller, stuff like that. Anyways, what do you think?
I love it. And I actually didn't know that it's as high as 20% of people, which, yeah, that's like a big audience that this could potentially, apply to and would be very relevant for. Yeah, super comprehensive strategy. And a lot of pieces of that strategy, I think, apply across really anything that you're doing. For example, packaging these packaging like sponsorship opportunities across as many different channels as you can to kind of like get the most value, not just for yourself, but also for somebody that's paying to sponsor your channel or reach your audience. Um, yeah, I love the whole idea. And I think that if somebody has interest or expertise in that, then they should absolutely go after it.
Yeah, it's definitely a hyperscale media company. Like this isn't a small niche audience, and that's why when I say $200 course, normally that's like a not a great model, but when you have a huge potential audience, so you can also do partnerships, it makes the business more interesting than just selling that course to a couple of thousand people. It could be a lot bigger. But anyways, I don't know if there's something cool to be built around that topic. I just don't know what exactly it is, but I hope that's helpful. Do you have any ideas that you want to share?
Yeah, I'll share the first one I had here. So we talked last week or last episode about vibe coding, right? Just the idea of using AI tools to very quickly throw together programs or web apps or tools. I was thinking about it would be very cool to have an almost gamified or very much gamified vibe coding challenge newsletter, right? So basically, every week you send out a challenge that has to be completed within a certain amount of time and submitted to the newsletter, whether that be like an app or a tool or even something more open ended and ambiguous. The subscribers compete by sending in their completed projects after I think a small window, I would say, or it could be as long as a week, it could be as little as a day. And then the winners or this like honorable mentions are featured in the newsletter, and there's some sort of prize attached to it. I mean, you could have people start when you're just kicking things off, starting kind of for the love of the game, right? Like you have like leaderboards, there's a community where people are sharing their projects and learning from each other. But then as something like this grows, you could have sponsored challenges, right? So you could bring in sponsors, whether that be SaaS platforms or just any sort of company comes in and sponsors a challenge and sets kind of the maybe the challenge itself is relevant to whoever is sponsoring that challenge, and there's a cash prize attached. I think this is really cool for a couple ideas or for a couple of reasons. The first reason being like gamification just works in terms of keeping people engaged with newsletters. Like we've talked a lot about that, and keeping people opening, and people will want to see what other people are building too. There's kind of a built-in sense of community, especially if you attach like a Slack community or a Discord server to that. And also, I think there's a lot of cool opportunities for growth, right? Like a lot of people are getting into this, getting into the idea of vibe coding or exploring programming using AI tools. So there are influencers that you could definitely partner with to spread the word, whether that be on Twitter or on LinkedIn, et cetera. You could get newsletter placements in like operator focused newsletters. So like marketing newsletters, for example. A lot of marketers are experimenting with these tools. But also you could partner with someone who is already creating a course or has an offer in this space, right? Or even a company that has a tool in this space, and basically pitch it as, hey, we'll drive subscribers to your product if you basically give it the exposure to the audience that you've already built or put some marketing dollars behind it. So I think there's built-in growth, built-in monetization if you're directing people back to a course or back to a tool and taking an affiliate cut of that. And I also just think for engagement purposes, I think it would be a very successful strategy.
Yeah, I love this, and I love the novelty. I also think it can have a lot more word of mouth and social sharing around something like this. Like you could find some way to also gamify how subscribers share this newsletter, because they're almost incentivized to, because they want more people, to some degree at least, they want more people into competition so that they can see more results and maybe pull inspiration from those things. It's also competitive, which may disincentivize sharing in some ways, but I think most people are generally not super competitive when it comes to this, and it's more about having fun. Obviously, there's like the built-in partner integration, which you mentioned, which is awesome. Very like there's direct ways to monetize it. I also think the idea you described is perfect, but I also think it might work better as a pop-up newsletter. So maybe you already have an audience that's interested in this stuff, and you do this as a pop-up newsletter for like 30 days or 60 days. And pop-up meaning just like it's a separate newsletter outside of your core newsletter. When people subscribe to this, they're still added to your core email list or newsletter, but they like get this content separately, and they know there's like a start and end date. And so the challenge goes for like 30 days, 60 days, and like you pause the newsletter after that, because I think it might be kind of hard to do this every single month forever. But then when you have maybe the next sponsor 30 days later, 60 days later, you pop up the newsletter again, the people that already subscribed are still on it. You add more people, you create another like promotion around it. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
that way, but that's another option just that I thought of.
Yeah, I like that for especially because there's so many like AI newsletters out there, right? It's like this could be a cool, I guess, just promotion or a way to upsell sponsors, right? Like, hey, we're doing this new thing, we're doing this vibe coding challenge, and this is like a seasonal thing that we're doing, and you can sponsor it. It also just provides a great opportunity to pull like the tools and the apps that people build. You can take those and then you feature them for what I would imagine to be really high engagement social posts to drive back to the newsletter, right? It's like that's a very easy schedule to get on. It's like, hey, here are the top 5 submissions, or the top, there could be a voting mechanism too within the newsletter, right? It's like the actual subscribers vote on who wins. And then it's like, here
Yeah.
are the top 5 tools that our subscribers chose, from this latest challenge. And then that drives folks back to the newsletter. So I just think it's a cool way to really, in a simple, straightforward way, engage an audience. I feel like it would grow organically, as you said, and then there's some really cool monetization opportunities there as well.
Maybe to like submit an entry, they have to post about the project on social media and like tag you and mention it came from the
Nice.
newsletter. So like they have to
Yeah.
share, and then you share those posts in the newsletter. And so it's like that's one of the ways that you have built-in sharing. But it's also a great way to sell things. Like if you have like a program, a course, a coaching program on vibe coding, like maybe you do this challenge for 30 days, and then you have like a 7-day marketing period for your course afterwards, where you pitch everyone. Challenges are a great way to sell these types of programs. And usually they're shorter, but like a longer challenge can totally work. That's awesome. We could talk about that for a long time and dig into that. Let me share one more because we'll share a couple more, but we don't have a ton of time today. I'll try and go a little bit faster with this next one. This is, so have you heard of Entrepreneurs Organization, YPO in Hampton, those kind of founder
Yeah.
community products like that?
Yeah.
So I mean, those are great businesses. You basically pay up front, whether it's like $5,000, $10,000, $25,000 per year for essentially like an in-person online community that you meet with on a monthly basis. Very high margin, great retention. People stay in these programs for decades. But one of the things is the in-person element is definitely the most sticky part, and it's the part that the members value the most. However, when it comes to all those organizations, they really only have in-person chapters in bigger cities, New York, LA, Atlanta, et cetera, right? And so the idea is like EO, YPO, or Hampton for smaller towns and communities. So if you're in a town of, it needs to be somewhat big, so let's say 100,000 to 1 million people, and there's no local chapter or local meetings for those organizations, you can basically start your own. Maybe you charge a little bit less. Maybe instead of 10 grand per year, you start at 5 grand. And you raise the prices later, and you basically do the same services and features that they have, but maybe a little bit lighter, a little bit simpler. So you have like a monthly form where you match members with like 5 to 8 other members in a core group or a forum where they meet monthly. You might do kind of community organized dinners, meetups, activities in your local area. You have an online community, a directory, and like a trusted vendor database of people who are in the membership. And you might even do like an annual conference in your town that's free for members who pay like 5K per year or 10K per year. And maybe people who are not members can learn more about what you're doing in the community by paying, $500, $1,000 for a ticket. And you might have, guest speakers. Then you also have speakers who are in the community. And so that's kind of the idea. And what I like about this is like, obviously this model, the economics of the model work great. You can grow a lot through word of mouth and some type of referral program because all the members are local and they're going to know other entrepreneurs in this area. So you can have like, hey, you refer a member, you get $1,000, you get $2,000, whatever it is. I also like the annual event because if you give members access for free, but then you also sell tickets to non-members, you can pitch the membership at the end of the event to people who are there live. And if they have a great event experience and they like events, they're very likely to actually purchase your membership at the actual event so they can attend future events and other events that you do outside of the big conference. Obviously, Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, Google ads all work for this. You could also do things like if people are searching for like Hampton, YPO, EO, stuff like that, You could like geofence Google search ads for those terms, but only target in your area. So you're getting super high intent traffic and leads, but it's geofenced to the areas that you want to have members in. And so growth is like relatively simple. And if you have a $10,000 membership, 100 members is 1 million ARR. It's it's hard to scale, I think, past 500 to 1,000 members, but this can be a pretty fun business for the right person who can do this.
I really like it. And just to, this is for someone who's in like one of these cities, right? It's like basically a local newsletter for where this person is at, where this founder is at.
Yeah, you really got to be local. Like I'm in Greensboro, North Carolina, 300,000 people or so, and in these places that are outside of like a New York or a San Francisco, like there's not as many founders, but the founders have a real need and desire to connect with other people who are similar to them, and there's just not a built-in community here like there is in somewhere like SF, like kind of near where you are. And so there's almost even a bigger problem in these cities versus the other cities. And also, again, there's no YPO, EO, Hampton chapters in the smaller cities yet because it just doesn't make sense for them to do so because they don't have as many members in these smaller locations.
I really like that. I think that, yeah, to your point, I mean, I'm in like Sonoma County, like there, I've definitely talked to a lot of people in like co-working spots that are hungry for a group like that around here. No, I think it makes a ton of sense. It's, and yeah, to your point, growth. I mean, we've talked about how, you know, there's a huge opportunity for local newsletters to grow through ads just because of the ability to geofence and really choose where you're targeting. And so, you know, if you have an ad that's calling out business owners or founders in Greensboro, North Carolina, and you're only hitting folks that are in Greensboro, then it's I would imagine it would be pretty successful in terms of
Yeah,
conversion rate
very
and acquisition
relevant.
cost. Yeah,
Relevancy is
100%.
so important, and you can do that when you're local. Yeah, what I would do is I might even do this, not like the full thing, but I might just have like a forum in my area of 5 to 10 people. We meet monthly. And then if you kind of start there, you can see if that works and see if you want to do more forums or like a broader thing like that. You don't have to go and launch the whole thing immediately. You can start with like a small group and just kind of see how it goes from there. So that's what I might do. I'm not planning to do that, turn that into a business, but just kind of for fun. Is there another idea you want to add?
I had one. It's a little more kind of B2C or more like broader than we usually talk about, but I think it's cool, and I think the monetization opportunity is there if you do it right. Which is there's a lot of, you know, whether it be subreddits or forums or blogs, people that do like outfit of the day, right? Specifically for like kind of streetwear niche or just really any sort of like fashion niche. It would be cool to have like an outfit of the day or week, I guess, newsletter where you pull an example fit from Reddit or a blog, or you're just curating them yourself. You provide some commentary on it. You maybe do some background on the brands, the inspirations, and then you just make it very, very easy to purchase each item in the outfit via an affiliate link. So if somebody's interested in these kinds of in this kind of subculture or some fashion niche like this, you know, gives you an opportunity to dive into that further and curate content and kind of build a community around it. But then also, I think the monetization opportunity through the affiliate links, if somebody sees something that they like, you know, they can purchase it directly through the newsletter and support you that way.
This is good because the affiliate's a great way to start, but like it's I don't know the best way to describe this, but like it's direct to revenue. Like it's a place where like people are actively buying things and like they're if they're opening this newsletter, they're kind of in market for clothing, and
Mm-hmm.
so you could easily have sponsors in there. You could basically have every single outfit of the day could be sponsored. Now it's harder to find like the photos from Reddit or something, but like if you have enough brands who are willing to buy the newsletter send and they can provide you like with a cool outfit of the day that's all their brand stuff or it's multiple brands and you have multiple sponsors in each newsletter, everything could be an ad essentially. Like we talked last time about written word media, how
Yeah.
it's like it sends you like 30 books a day and every single one is an ad essentially, or maybe almost every single one is an ad. Like this could have the same thing. Like you start with an affiliate and then eventually you build up a large enough audience where you can make every single item in advertisement and you'll make more from that versus just affiliate marketing where you get like a 5% commission or something, right?
Right. Yeah. And it's, you know, I think to your point, affiliate, depending on the size of the audience and the category, isn't always scalable as only mode of revenue. But I think it's a built-in way to get something like this off the ground and started, and especially if you're passionate about it, then I think there's an opportunity there for somebody to at least get their foot in the door.
And I feel like it's like something so easy to execute. You could do it 7 days a week, so you have a lot of inventory and a lot of affiliate traffic or sponsor traffic. But also, you could just duplicate it, so you have like outfit of the day, streetwear. I don't even know different fashion categories, as people watching on YouTube can tell. But like, what's another fashion category, Ryan?
You're putting me on the spot. The one that I had in mind was streetwear for this specifically, but
That's all I can think of right now. But I mean, people can think of a
yeah,
dozen others. So you can essentially have a dozen other outfit of the day newsletters that are all sent 7 days a week, and you now just have way more traffic than you would have just one. Essentially, that's what I'm trying to say.
right. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's really cool. And then I think because it's so broad and also relevant at the same time, Facebook ads, your cost per subscriber can be super low. Like you could get 50-cent subscribers, even 20-cent subscribers if you're good. And then also when you also could grow a lot more of giveaways, because the thing that you give away would be related to the content. So you could give away clothing essentially, or accessories that are streetwear, for example, or whatever fashion category that gets people onto the newsletter where you're just talking about the same thing. And so the giveaway item is aligned with the content. And so a lot of times giveaways bring in low quality subscribers because they're not aligned, but this is aligned. And when you do giveaways, you get subscribers even cheaper than just advertising the newsletter content.
That's a great call. I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, giveaways specifically for this idea or something like it could work really well. Also, there are so many just built-in communities that are already focused on these things. Again, I'm just thinking of streetwear. Like there's so many blogs, there's so many, there are big subreddits for it. There are forums, there are Twitter accounts. So yeah, I mean, if you're smart about how you market it organically, there are some really great sources for growth.
Yeah, and I'm sure you could kind of build up some organic audience yourself on Instagram or Facebook for this or other channels. We talked about this forever ago, but like buying ads from kind of no face influencer pages can be a great source of cheap traffic or leads. So like the random streetwear account that like has no face, no real brand, but it has 300,000 followers will sell you an Instagram story ad for like $100, $200, and you can crush it with that. So there's a lot of cool ways you could get discovery with this.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, like TikToks. And yeah, to your point, it's like you could market this through TikTok. You could basically do your features that you're doing in the newsletter also on TikTok and have a video element of it and drive back to the newsletter. But yeah, I think it's there for somebody that wants to take it on. I think you had one more idea that you wanted to share as well.
Yeah, I have one more that will kind of maybe round this out. That was a good one. I don't know if this is as good, but a lot of people are launching local newsletters, local media companies that we know and that we see, and they're crushing it. But a lot of them do kind of look the same, where it's like, okay, here's some like events that are happening this weekend. Here's local news, politics, new restaurants, food, live music, etc. And if you look at like the classic local media companies that succeeded, a lot of them just covered people, especially hyper local media. They just covered people in the community. Like you've seen Humans of New York, right? Have you seen that brand or Instagram page or whatever?
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's like photojournalism, right? With like some background on the people that they take photos of.
Yeah, I feel like if you did that in communities of 100,000 to 500,000 people, where like a lot more people know each other, and if like your neighbors featured in this, or your buddy is, or someone in your family, like you're going to share it on Facebook, Instagram, whatever too. And so if I were to do a local newsletter, what I might do is just like Humans of blank town, and just, hyper local, just do really cool profiles that are like short and sweet on people on almost a daily basis. And I would still cover other stuff too, but like my priority of coverage would be people number one, because people just, they're interested in other people and themselves in the community. And then I would do number two would be food, music, and events. And I would also get UGC. Like I would have a forum where people can submit content. And one thing I've seen locally, like when I read a local paper years ago, they had like grinds and gripes. So it's just like people write in to complain about something in the community. That's a gripe, and then a grin. No, grin and gripe. So gripe is complaining. Grin is something that they're happy or excited about. And so you just let people write in, like literally like 40 characters, 50 characters, and you feature like people's stories or people's grins or gripes there too. And I just think that would be a lot more interesting than just whatever event is on, Eventbrite that weekend that you're just copying and pasting from somewhere. Something a little bit more unique would be a great way to build audience a lot faster.
I love that. No, I love the idea of just featuring people from around the community. Like if they had something like that for where I lived, I would definitely subscribe and read it.
You have to have
Yeah.
taste too. It can't just be
Yeah.
like, okay, here's like the guy running for city council. Like, I don't give a fuck about him. It's like I
Yeah.
have this neighbor that I met, and like she is like the most amazing artist I've ever seen. But she's also going blind and has like cataracts and some other eye issues, and so she can't paint anymore. And so like just telling a really sweet story about someone like her would be really cool. And she moved here recently, and she has a cool backstory. So it's like you have to have some artistic flavor and not just do like the generic stuff either.
Right. Like some like the barista at the local coffee shop or like the person who owns like the museum downtown or something like that. Just,
Yeah, like the guy who
just
owns the ice
yeah.
cream shop that everybody loves. Like no one really knows who he is. Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah. I love that. That's very wholesome.
Yeah, wholesome. People love wholesome, and that's
Yeah.
obviously shareable too. Like you see wholesome content that triggers you to share it, and it can grow a lot organically. The monetization is relatively hard but straightforward. So because of the category, like local and wholesome, you could do a lot of donations and like fundraising. Even if you're a for profit, you can collect donations or have people basically pay you $10 a month, not to get anything, but just to support your journalism
Mhm.
essentially. And then of course you can do partnerships. You can have newsletter ads. This would work a lot more like as a social first company. So you could do ads through Instagram stories, post, Facebook stories. You could write advertorials for local businesses. You could have like a local business vetted directory where people pay to get access to that. Nothing,
Mhm.
crazy, but the good thing is about these local contracts is local businesses are a lot more used to like annual contracts. So you can really maybe sell them on a quarterly contract at first and then book them annually after that. The CPMs aren't crazy high, but it's a longer term, which is nice. So nothing crazy there, but I would love to see some more unique content in the local space.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I mean with monetization, it's like you could basically offer, I don't know, thinking through it a bit more tactically, it's like a local business that sponsors could have like a coupon that's like for let's say the ice cream shop, right? Like it's a buy one get one free or something that's only for readers of the newsletter that week or something like that, and then they see a big uptick in business and that's promising to them. So no, I like that
Yeah,
a lot.
that simple stuff really works well, and not a lot of people do it because they're just not thinking that marketing through. They're like, oh, well, let's just like put our logo in the newsletter and we'll get business. But like, you have to really incentivize things. And so
Yeah,
it's a lot of all these ideas are like pretty fundamental, but it's about doing the little things right that are going to make it successful.
nice. Well, yeah, that was a good set of ideas, honestly. I think
Yeah, I was surprised at how
hopefully, yeah,
yours are really good. You never know what to expect when you're talking about ideas because some are going to be kind of cheesy and some are potentially
yeah,
great, but I like those at least. I
yeah, me
think
too.
awesome. Okay, we got to wrap it here. But if you have a question and you're listening to this, we have like a mailbag down below. So click that. Click the link to work with Ryan's agency. Check out my business below, and we'll talk to y'all soon.